It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a man proves COVID took his taste by, well, trying out some pungent foods.
We'll be pretty normal today, but then we move up a skosh incrementally on the 7-day forecast, and eventually we move up a lot. We'll break it all down. We got 70s on the horizon from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we get to see if Michael uses more words like scotch. The KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A 27-year-old Webb City man is dead after firing shots at officers before turning the gun on himself. Jasper County Sheriff's Office says the incident began in Carterville around 2:20 p.m. when an officer attempted to stop a Hummer that had been reported stolen. The driver led police on a chase before crashing. Authorities say he then exited the vehicle and ran to another residence, accosting a citizen and taking his car keys. Speeding west on Highway 171, the suspect ended up driving the wrong way around the roundabout at Stone's Corner, causing a number of collisions. He eventually crashed near the intersection of Prairie Flower and 171, where he then fled on foot and attempted to hide under a tractor trailer on the parking lot of a business. The suspect fired at officers as they began to surround him. He then fired a second shot, resulting in a fatal self-inflicted injury. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No officers or deputies were injured. The Nevada R5 school district will implement a mask mandate for grades 6 through 12 starting today. School officials made the announcement yesterday afternoon. All NHS students must wear masks before entering the buildings and will remain masked while in all classroom settings. Students who forget or lose their mask will be supplied with one. Any student who fails to comply with the mandate will be sent home immediately. November firearms season kicked off for many Missouri hunters this weekend, and that means processors like Clouds Meats and Carthage are extra busy. Check out this. There was a line at Clouds Meat. They shared an image earlier saying that it's the first time they've had to stop taking deer this early, cutting things off yesterday afternoon. He says the deer are large and there are lots of them. Clouds is only taking what they can safely to refrigerate, but they're hoping to start taking more later tomorrow. And once they hit about 1,200 head, they'll stop taking deer to focus on beef and pork customers. Well, the Carl Junction Police Department has kicked off its Shop with a Cop campaign for the holidays, and they need your help. The CJ Police Department reached out on social media saying they've got their longest list of kids to shop for in the program's history. They'll be buying toys for 390 kids this year. While they have a lot of faithful donors, they're hoping a few more four-staters will join the club. Anyone who wants to make a donation can drop it off at the Carl Junction Police Department. You can also give them a call and they'll come directly to you to pick it up. And you can find that number in the story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, maybe the chilly weather has you looking for a bit of a warm-up. These kids have the right idea, exercising indoors over at Everybody Fitness. It was all part of the gym's Fall into Fitness Kids Day event. Besides games, there's also face painting, arts and crafts, and more. Organizers say keeping kids active is especially important around this time of year.
Our goal here is just to get kids active. So statistics prove that kids who are active are 50% less likely to get the flu.
Staff says all gym space and equipment is disinfected on a regular basis. Well, New Jersey man, well, he's been eating some questionable food just to prove that he's COVID-19 positive and that it's taken away his taste buds. Russell Donnelly contracted the coronavirus and told friends he couldn't taste anything, which is one symptom of having COVID-19 virus. But you know what? His friends were doubtful. So Donnelly took to social media for the COVID taste test.
Are you kidding me?
I can't believe this is happening. He ate a raw onion, consumed a shot of lemon juice, and ate a spoonful of garlic paste. Other videos have him eating Oreos with wasabi and downing vinegar.
Okay, do I need to be the one?
So not only is he sick with COVID, no taste buds, but what we don't see is the after effects of this going through his intestines.
Okay, I'll be the one. Kids, don't do this. It's not good on your body. I cannot believe there's now a social media COVID taste test thing.
I challenge James Mass to do this exact challenge.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No,
all right.
you don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't do
bad
it.
idea. Don't do it, James.
Don't do it. I
Get
wanna go
outside
back.
instead.
Have you guys ever taken a trip through the state of Missouri on the first day of a hunting season? You guys ever done that?
No, I have not.
You roll out about 4 a.m., okay? 4 a.m., go through the entire state. All you're gonna see are trucks parked along every highway.
Why is that?
Is it?
First day of hunting season.
Does that mean it's public hunting along every highway?
Anywhere you can find public hunting. It's amazing. I went and watched the University of Missouri clinch the SEC East against Texas A&M. Clinch the SEC East and go to the SEC championship game, right? Final home game. But it was the first day of Missouri hunting season. There were maybe 20,000 people in the stadium. Whew. Yeah, everybody was hunting.
That's
And
What
so I
time was the
I
game?
made the trip from here in the 4 states up to Columbia, left about 4 a.m. And the entire route, entire highway, just lined with pickup trucks.
What time was the game?
Game got moved to noon. Not that I remember these things.
They could have did their hunting in the morning and waited until dusk to start again.
It doesn't work that
Fit
way.
in a game in the middle.
Nope.
There's no good hunting.
You know what I like to say? Tag it, bag it, call now.
Dawn and dusk. That's the prime time, folks.
There you go. That's
have
when
no
you leave at
iota
4
what
a.m. That's what you find out. Skywatch Stormtracker looking extremely clear. Don't worry about the colors that we're seeing right there. That's merely reflectivity picked up by our sweeping radar. A little chill in the air here, 36 in Pittsburgh, 30 in Miami, 37 in Nevada now. Even though we have some temperatures below the freezing mark throughout northeast Oklahoma, no freeze warnings, watches, or advisories in effect. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, sitting at 37, but look at that wind chill, only at 30 degrees. For the bus stop forecast, we're just past sunrise. We called it 6:59 over Joplin. Watch that southwest wind. It is going to pick up, but here's the nice thing. Even though we're off to a cool start, still normal temperatures for this time of year. Check out this warming trend that we're going to have to the point where we get into the 70s by the end of the work week. Tanya and Jesse?
Well, up next, we'll have the latest on vaping regulations.
And Walmart put certain regulations back in place in terms of safety precautions. We'll have those and more coming up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more after this.
Well, a new study finds COVID-19 patients have an impossible death rate 2 times higher than that of flu patients. Researchers in Seattle say the higher mortality rate was independent of a patient's age, gender, or severity of illness while in the ICU. New research suggests children under age 2 who take antibiotics are more likely to have health issues ranging from obesity to food allergies. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic say children receiving multiple antibiotic treatments were more likely to have multiple conditions later in childhood. People with type 2 diabetes are at high risk for fatal heart attack or stroke. Researchers in Spain found that 93% of these patients were at high risk or very high risk of these conditions within a decade. Doctors say quitting smoking and drinking, adopting a healthier diet, and exercising more can help lower that risk. Before COVID, vaping was the headline-grabbing health issues. Drawn to flavors like mango and bubblegum, the number of young people using smokeless tobacco products skyrocketed, with dozens of people dying from a mysterious lung disease called EVALI. Parents became frantic, scientists scrambled for a cure, and the president took a hard line. Claudia Cowan has more from San Francisco.
Before COVID, vaping was the headline-grabbing health issue. Drawn to flavors like mango and bubblegum, the number of young people using smokeless tobacco products skyrocketed, with dozens of people dying from a mysterious lung disease called EVALI. Parents became frantic, scientists scrambled for a cure, and the president took a hard line.
We can't allow people to get sick, and we can't have our youth be so affected.
In January, the administration moved to ban the sale of some products.
All flavored e-cigarettes other than tobacco flavor would have to be removed from the market.
Restrictions were aimed at leading manufacturers like Juul, which agreed to stop selling its fruity and mint flavors, but still does brisk business selling tobacco and menthol pods. There are other loopholes. Single-use vaping products are exempt despite their high nicotine content. And 11 months later, those who fought for the ban say it hasn't worked.
Unfortunately, the steps the Trump administration took were totally inadequate. And the new data shows that we have over 3.6 million kids still using these products, with actually a higher percentage of them addicted.
More than a dozen cities and states have taken steps to restrict vaping, with legislation pending in more jurisdictions. Vaping advocates argue the end result is a booming black market and a spike in cigarette sales.
Activist groups would rather have adult smokers who are risking their life believe that if they switch to a smoke-free product, they are still putting their health at risk. That is nonsense, and we need the incoming Biden administration to actually support the science and look at the science rather than just listening to these activist groups where their answer is always ban, 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 and ask questions later.
Big Tobacco is fighting back. In California, cigarette companies are fighting a statewide ban on the sale of flavored products due to take effect in January, gathering signatures to hit the pause button until voters can weigh in on the November 2020 ballot. Well, a massive alligator makes its rounds on the internet, that's what that says, after being spotted on a Florida golf course. This was at a golf course in Naples during Tropical Storm Iota. People on social media thought it might be a fake, but a reptile expert with the state's Fish and Wildlife Research Institute says there was nothing unusual about the size of this gator. Woo, that is a big one. It's got long legs.
Not bad. All right, we're going to get to more hurricane action here in just a little bit, Tanya, but let's start in the 4 states with a live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera on this Monday morning, where we sit at 37 degrees, but that wind chill only feeling right now like it's 30, 36 in Pittsburgh, 35 in Welch, and 37 in Nevada. Clear Skywatch Stormtrack. Remember, that color that you do see, that's reflectivity picked up by the sweeping radar. Nothing to concern ourselves with as we have clear skies and we stay on the dry side. Cool morning for the kids, not even 50 degrees there by the time we hit the 9 o'clock hours. The jet stream now beginning to actually move from more north to south action than what we had last week when it was relatively flat. Now, speaking of those hurricanes, we've got problems down in Central America. Hurricane Iota, Category 4. Nicaragua, Honduras. It was November 3rd. When they got hit by another major hurricane. So here we are in just the middle of November, and they got a Cat 4 headed their way. This is the latest that we've seen a major hurricane down in Central America since 1999 when we had Hurricane Lenny. So this is something that we'll keep our eyes on. And, the infrastructure, the governmental problems, et cetera, for what they have right now. Just know that that's something that we're going to talk about weather-wise because it will stay Cat 4 as it makes landfall right there on the Nicaragua-Honduras border. All right, highs today in the mid-60s and warming up incrementally to the point where we're actually going to be able to throw some 70s on the board for Thursday and Friday, and overnight lows also warming up all the way into the 50s. Back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. There's something to talk about this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, which you can take part in. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. It's no secret that gathering with Thanksgiving with family going to be a little bit different this year. As health experts warn, even small get-togethers could be risky for spreading coronavirus. Naomi Rockham explains possibly the safest ways to spend the holiday.
The Franklins have a long-standing tradition of all gathering together to celebrate Thanksgiving.
Normally we have 30, 40 people in our house.
But this year, with elderly grandparents and loved ones with health conditions, the family is opting for a Zoom Thanksgiving.
We figured we could do breakout rooms. The kids could have their own space. The men could have their own space. People could break into groups just to talk about different topics.
How to celebrate without spreading the coronavirus is weighing on many families. Dr. Helen Boucher is with the Infectious Diseases Society of America.
The safest way to celebrate Thanksgiving is virtually. So with our immediate family, the people with whom we live, and keeping the group small. I think if people do that, we have a much better chance of staving off and dealing with the surge that we're seeing now.
Small outdoor dinners with family and friends who live in your community is considered moderate risk. Large indoor gatherings with people not from your household, high risk.
The highest risk is being indoors in a poorly ventilated space with a lot of people who are not covering their face. That could set up a perfect storm.
If you are planning to travel for Thanksgiving, doctors say it's critical to wear a mask, wash your hands frequently, wipe down frequently touched surfaces, and try and keep your distance if possible. Even with their modified plans, this family says they have plenty to be thankful for.
Even though it's not safe to be together indoors, being able to be together, that is enough, I think.
They hope other families also choose to keep each other safe this holiday. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Now, there's actually another Thanksgiving tradition that health experts say you should avoid this year: Black Friday shopping, since large crowds are often unable to, obviously, socially distance. All right, so the question on the KOAM News Now Facebook page: if the pandemic is changing your Thanksgiving tradition. And we'll kick off with Laura Cliphon-Wright, who says, unfortunately, our Thanksgiving will be much smaller. We will figure something out for my wonderful in-laws, but it'll be social distance and masks. Sarah Dreisbach writes, we canceled our Thanksgiving this year. We talked and decided that too many of us have other health issues and none of us wanted to take a chance of spreading the virus. Just isn't worth it for a couple of hours of being in the same room. We will celebrate in our smaller family units and look forward to next year when hopefully there will be a vaccine. We'll continue to roll your comments. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. It's been back and forth from one extreme to the other. Right now, 44% of you saying pandemic's going to change a lot. 39% right behind saying not going to change a thing. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Butchers are backed up on work across the 4 states trying to keep up with the demand for meat as deer season gets underway. KOAM's Kate Kelly shares why hunters may have a hard time finding a processor this year.
Robert Anderson loves the thrill of the hunt, but finding a place to take his buck is becoming harder as the years go by, especially in 2020.
They're busy with hogs and cattle and things, you know, the traditional things that people raise around the farm. So it's just not a thing they do anymore.
Clouds in Carthage is one of the remaining meat processors that still handles deer, but even they have their limits.
Kind of the bad thing this year, when we reach what we did last year, about 1,200 head, we will have to shut deer off because I've already got my beef and my pork customers booked and I can't move them. There's nowhere to move them to.
That's because demand on butchers is at an all-time high. Clouds is booked through January of 2022.
I've never seen anything like it. And so a lot of it is pretty well typical, kind of, I call it, like toilet paper, because everybody's wanting to book. Everybody's afraid they don't have anything and, not going to have meat.
The holiday season isn't slowing anything down, and with so many of the major meat processing plants either closed or operating on a partial basis due to COVID-19, more customers are turning to their local butcher.
We normally sell some smoked turkeys. We don't have time to make them and we can't find them. And we're still going to do some hams. But we're changing what we do because we're so busy with other stuff that we can only do so much.
Cloud says he expects things to get better in January, especially after a COVID-19 vaccine becomes available. He's telling his customers to hold on and wait for openings in the meantime. For now, Anderson and others like him will likely be on the hunt for a butcher.
Everybody's afraid of the virus, and everybody, a lot of people are worried about that CWD. So there's just a lot of organic dangers, I guess, in processing wild game right now.
In Jasper County, Kate Kelly, KOAM News.
The Missouri Department of Conservation has suspended mandatory chronic wasting disease sampling requirements for hunters. You can read more about this by checking out the link we've shared in this article on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's it for Money Watch. We'll come back with Michael for something to talk about. But first, actually, let's take some time to honor today's 4-state hero. Simon Essig is a private engineer, one in the United States Army. He served in Korea from 1945 to 1946, where he was part of the 754th Tank Battalion. There he earned the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. A native of Parsons, Kansas, we salute you, Simon Essig, our 4-state hero.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. 27-year-old Webb City man is dead after firing shots at officers before turning the gun on himself. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office says the incident began in Carterville around 2:20 p.m. when an officer attempted to stop a Hummer that had been reported stolen. The driver led police on a chase before crashing. Authorities say he then exited the vehicle and ran to another residence, accosting a citizen and taking his car keys, speeding west on Highway 171. The suspect ended up driving the wrong way around the roundabout at Stone's Corner and caused a number of collisions. He eventually crashed near the intersection of Prairie Flower and 171, where he fled on foot and attempted to hide under a tractor trailer on the parking lot of a business. The suspect fired at officers as they began to surround him. He then fired a second shot, resulting in a fatal self-inflicted injury. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No officers or deputies were injured. The Nevada R5 School District will implement a mask mandate for grades 6 through 12 starting today. School officials made the announcement yesterday afternoon. All NHS students must wear masks before entering the buildings and will remain masked while in all classroom settings. Students who forget or lose their mask will be supplied with one. Any student who fails to comply with the mandate will be sent home immediately. November firearms season kicked off for many Missouri hunters this weekend, and that means processors like Cloud's Meats in Carthage are extra busy. Mike Cloud, owner of Cloud's Meats, says this is the first time they've had to stop taking deer this early, cutting things off yesterday afternoon. He says the deer are large, and there are lots of them. Clouds is only taking what they can safely to refrigerate, but they're hoping to start taking more later tomorrow. And once they've hit about 1,200 head, they'll stop taking deer to focus on beef and pork customers. The National Weather Service issues a tornado warning in New York until 9 p.m. Sunday night. This was yesterday. Local media reported roads were closed as emergency services responded to falling debris in Midtown with possible unstable scaffolding. Power outages reported in neighboring New Jersey as the NWS forecast severe thunderstorms for parts of New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Speaking of tornado warnings, we were in our own tornado watch Saturday night.
Had tornado watches across the 4 states, severe thunderstorm warnings. It made for an interesting night. Luckily, got through without any massive storm reports. Just didn't update as far as national storm reports. Don't have any tornadoes to report from the East Coast associated with that watch. One thing we will be talking about, Tanya, as we progress through the middle of the week is another Gulf hurricane.
Ooh.
Category 4 right now. And this will be the second. What is today? Today's the 16th?
Yes.
Right? All right, it was 13 days ago when Nicaragua was hit by a massive hurricane. 13 days. Less than 2 weeks later, look at what they've got right now. We've got a Category 4. It's going to go by Iota. And once again, it is going to devastate Central America. It's going to make landfall right on the Nicaragua-Honduras border as a Category 4. And this is not one that's going to fool around. This is going to be massive flooding. This is going to be catastrophic. And I don't use that word lightly. I hardly ever use that word when we talk about weather. But that's exactly what's going to present itself as this thing makes its way into Central America. Stark contrast for what we're seeing here in the 4 states as we begin our Monday morning with clear skies and very calm weather. Yeah, it's a little bit cool. Wind chill right now hanging at 30 degrees from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, 37 in Pittsburgh, 39 in Monette, and 35 in Iola. Now, clear Skywatch Stormtrack, any colors that you see right there, that's simply reflectivity from our sweeping radar. One final look at the bus stop forecast as the kiddos get ready to head out the door. It's going to be a little chilly right there, but plenty of sunshine. Just can't even get to the 50-degree mark there by 9 a.m. But give it a little bit and we'll work up into the low 60s. Very seasonable for where we should be at this time of November. And now overnight, clear skies, so we lose all that heat we trapped in, but a little bit better than what we saw tonight into early this morning. Future track just going to be as clear as a bell. And what we'll see on our temperatures is a warming trend, not only for tomorrow, but we just keep on bumping up the mercury as we progress toward the weekend. As a matter of fact, mid-60s by Wednesday, 70s to finish off the work week, and then finally some much needed rain on Saturday and Sunday. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Something to talk about this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our Insta poll. How much will the pandemic change how you celebrate Thanksgiving this year? Kara Jo Reed writes, we are only having 9 people staying below the 10 people mark. Jessica Ellis asks, so let me get this. We're allowed to have school, allowed to have Walmart open and all kinds of gatherings in there, allowed to have anything that has all kinds of gatherings, but when it comes to holidays, we're supposed to cancel. No, not going to ruin my holidays. We'll do the same thing I do every year. Jessica goes on to say, if this was such a big hassle, then why are we allowed to have everything else open? And Lana personally kind of takes that same point. Lana writes, Walmart had a line in front of it at 4:30 Saturday morning. Crowds of Karens and rude people spilling in like cattle when they opened at 5, packed till 10, all for a discount on something they probably don't need. But everyone's so worried about the COVID, just not as much as they are worried about missing that sale, that's for sure. Lana, I had that experience. I understand what you're saying. Jimmy Morgan, I'm going to finish with this one. Jimmy says, Thanksgiving plans. He goes, that's okay. Some of my in-laws I don't like anyway. Jimmy posted it. I just read it. That's all I did. Our morning Insta poll. This has gone back and forth all morning long. Right now, 46% saying it's going to change their plans a lot. And then 39% say it changes nothing. It's just been a wide chasm, and it's gone back and forth all morning long. All right, appreciate all your engagement. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Over to Jesse in Studio K.
Well, there's a reason they call it the season of giving, and this morning I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Becca Williams, who is one of the most giving individuals that I think I've spoken with this year, just because of what you do with the Foster Closet based out of Columbus, Kansas. So do you mind explaining for people what the Foster Closet is and how it all got started?
Absolutely. How it got started is my husband and I received a call asking if we would take in some foster children. We had just finished potty training our last child, and so we didn't have anything, and several of our friends got together and gave us their baby items. We got cribs, car seats, clothes, so that really helped us as we were welcoming 2 children into our home who didn't come with very much at all. And so we were looking for a way to give back, and I partnered up with some friends who were doing the same thing, and the Lord just opened doors, and we are renting a 2,300 square foot space in Columbus, Kansas. It's organized by size and gender, and we have everything foster kids need when they come into care. Sometimes they don't come into care with very much. Sometimes literally the clothes that are on their back. And so it allows us to give them things that are theirs as they have a lot of uncertainty in their life. So they can come pick out underwear, socks, shoes, jeans, coats, sports gear if they're into sports. Wow. We have everything that they need as they adjust to their new foster family.
And so what does providing something like this to a child in foster care do, right? I mean, clearly it's a very fragile moment in their lives when they need to be put into foster care. So what does providing them with shoes or providing them with a backpack or, whatever it may be, how does that help them?
It helps them. I mean, there's a lot of ways. Everything in their life just got flipped. I mean, that's a pretty big trauma. So they've got taken away from their bio family. They've got taken away from their normal and placed with strangers. And sometimes they're able to stay in their community, but a lot of times due to limited foster homes, they're not. And so they are taken to a new side of the state or a new school. And so it kind of gives them something that's theirs. This backpack is mine and nobody can take this away from me. I don't have to leave it behind when I leave. This is mine.
All right, well, I understand, the Foster Closet giveaway is, a Christmas giveaway is happening, and I want to learn about that. I also want to learn about the fact that A, you are in a classroom as we talk right now, and B, you're a mother of 9. I've got a lot more questions for you, Becca, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have more conversation with Becca Williams on the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back after this. Well, COVID-19 is putting a financial strain on many families, and while many nonprofits are trying to help, a new study released from the Better Business Bureau shows charities are struggling too. KOAM's Caitlin Shive took a look and has more.
With the holidays coming up and the thought of giving back on people's minds, the Better Business Bureau conducted a study to see what giving looks like during the pandemic.
In terms of how it's changed from this time last year to right now, is we're seeing a lot more people who are actually donating to family and friends. So previously we saw big institutions that people were mainly more likely to donate money to, big charities, very well-known charities that are nationwide. Now people are looking for local people to help in the community because they're wanting to see their money actually going towards helping somebody right there in their neighborhood.
The pandemic has shifted the attitudes of many when it comes to giving back.
A lot of people are realizing that people are hard up right now, that times have been hard for a lot of people, for a lot of us out here, and so they're trying to have a local way that they can make a difference.
The study shows that from March through August of 2020, support for charities has fallen by 5%. The Joplin Salvation Army can attest to that. They say financial support has dropped.
We've had a decline in our donations through this year we've noticed since July when we first arrived here that they have been down. And a lot of it is people not working, they're just not being able to donate as much as they used to.
The BBB study says that security and trust is important right now when it comes to what people are willing to give and to who. Lieutenant Marty wants to remind the community that donations go back to the local area.
Anything that's donated to us stays in this community. Even if they specify a certain donation for a certain program, that money is guaranteed to stay in that program. We will not use it for anything else. That's one thing we are very good at doing. Wherever they donate goes to what they want to go for.
In Joplin, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
The Salvation Army is also experiencing a decrease in bell ringers this year. Well, GM is recalling almost 51,000 Chevy Bolt EVs in the United States. The announcement will affect models from 2017 through 2019, including the autonomous cruise model. Now, globally, the recall affects over 68,000 Bolts. The company said the fire risk could come from its high-voltage batteries. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration previously investigated 3 Chevy Bolt EV fires in October. GM's still looking for a solution, but says Bolt EV owners should schedule an appointment with Chevy dealers for a battery software update to limit maximum voltage charge to 90%. Walmart says it's resuming counting customers as they enter and exit its stores. The latest announcement comes as the number of coronavirus cases in the United States has skyrocketed over the past few years. Now, in April, Walmart ran stores at roughly 20% capacity, or 5 customers per 1,000 square feet. Walmart eventually stopped physically counting customers. Now the stores will reignite the practice for social distance safety. All right, if you like Waffle House, which has always had bacon and eggs, well, now they are in the business of bacon and kegs. Yep, it is the name of Waffle House's new beer. It's a red ale brimming with the salty, smoky smell of bacon in the suds. The Georgia-based chain is now partnering with another Georgia outfit, Oconee Brewing Company. The brewing company reached out for a partnership in January, and Waffle House said, well, sure, why not? Cans show the iconic Waffle House sign and building and bacon strips. So it's another way to start your day, but it's an interesting one, that's for sure. All right, we'll come back, have more on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
About 10 minutes to the top of the hour here on the KOAM Morning News here on Fox 14 as I find myself in an argument with our camera operator, Allie, who wants to have a space heater here in the studio, and I'm trying to tell her about the dangers of it. Now, Allie, I tell you this, that our average high of what we're seeing so far halfway through November, 8th highest on record. So you don't have a whole lot, and she just gave me a thumbs up. And she's like, no, it's cold, Michael, it's cold. And it is a little bit chilly outside of Television City, Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, as we sit at 37 degrees, only feeling right now like it's 30, 39 in Pittsburgh, right at the freezing point in Miami. Already, though, 41 in Monette and 40 in Chanute. Very clear Skywatch Stormtracker. We're going to be dry all week long. As a matter of fact, going to be one of those where we're going to have to avoid some outdoor burning here by the time we get to the middle of the week, because it's going to be windy and it's actually going to be warm. You need to check out Hurricane Iota, Category 4. We're talking catastrophic damage that's going to occur right along the border of Nicaragua and Honduras, as it's going to make landfall as a major hurricane. Less than 2 weeks ago is when they got hit by their last hurricane. So as we take that, let's just consider ourselves extremely fortunate here in the 4 states. We'll go sunny skies and low 60s today, and a clear Skywatch Stormtracker all the way through the end of the work week. As a matter of fact, how about incrementally warming up? You know, average high this time of year would be about 59. Well, look at this. We're going to not only eclipse that, we're talking about 70s by the time we get to Thursday and Friday. Finally, some much needed rain. We find ourselves about an inch above normal right now. So despite the fact that the spring was so wet, yeah, Mother Nature has a funny way of just catching up with itself. Saturday and Sunday, finally a little precipitation. Not widespread, nothing severe, but we're actually in some need of it. Back to Jesse in Studio K.
There are a lot of different ways that you can help during the holiday season, and especially in a year like 2020, helping the community and helping those in need is really more important than ever before. And this morning we're fortunate enough to be joined by Becca Williams, who is really, making it happen with the Foster Closet and the Foster Closet Christmas giveaway. So can you please explain for us, Becca, what the Foster Closet Christmas giveaway is?
Absolutely. It's a big party. We are doing it a little more COVID friendly this year. We have a group of tremendous volunteers that donate a lot of time to making this event successful. So we have foster parents will RSVP and let us know the ages and genders of their foster child if they have anything special that's on their Christmas list. And we reach out to our generous community. We've assembled an Amazon list. I provided you with the link. And we ask the community to purchase those gifts for the foster kids. So when the foster parents come this year, generally we're open and we have a big party and snacks and crafts and everything in the foster closet. But to keep social distancing and our sanity a little bit, last year was pretty busy, we are just assembling the bags and doing it drive-through and sending crafts and snacks home with the foster families.
Well, I think anybody who has children could speak to this, but given that you have 9 of them, I feel like you might be the right person to ask this especially. What does having kids of your own do in terms of enhancing your perspective on something like foster care and kids who are in it and how you can help them?
I think it's important to know that kids in foster care are just kids. None of what has happened to them is their fault. Sometimes what happens to them is the choices of others. Sometimes what happens to them is just a whole lot of really bad luck. And in years like 2020, when people have lost their jobs and they can't pay their bills and they can't feed their kids, and then school's canceled and nobody's laying eyes on the kids, it's a really hard year for everybody. Having my own kids, I can't imagine somebody taking them and not knowing where they are and not knowing if they're safe and if they're loved. And by having the foster closet, we are able to come alongside and love on these kids and help the foster families. And ultimately, a lot of the stuff, when the kids go home, all of the stuff goes back with the children. So that helps the bio families not have to immediately provide more items, because kids sometimes have grown sizes and they don't have the money to do that.
Well, we really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this morning. I know you have a class outside of the room right now. I'll let you get back to your class and your subbing duties, but we appreciate you taking the time to share the details of the Foster Closet with us. We're going to have all the information about the Foster Closet Christmas giveaway on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Just head to our morning show page, and we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The U.S. has now surpassed 11 million coronavirus cases during the pandemic. Washington Governor Jay Inslee joins the growing list of state and local leaders imposing new restrictions on businesses and activities as the virus spikes around the nation. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris plan to deliver remarks today on their long-term plans for the country. President Trump continues to make unfounded claims that the election was rigged and refuses to concede. 4 astronauts are on their way to the International Space Station after lifting off last night on a SpaceX rocket. U.S. Air Force Colonel Michael Hopkins is leading 2 Americans, physicist Shannon Walker and astronaut Victor Glover, as well as Japanese astronaut Soichi Noguchi on the 27-hour trip. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Don't worry if you missed any details on that SpaceX launch, because Tanya is infatuated with NASA stories, and I bet you we have an update coming at you at noon. Am I right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
can
thought
handle
so.
that.
Sunny skies and temperatures in the low 60s later on today, so just a skosh above where we'd normally be at this time of year. We are going to see some southwest wind come in at 25 miles per hour here overnight, back into the 30s. But I tell you what, I'm going to bump up that mercury on the thermometer all the way to the end of the work week and eventually end up in the 70s.
I wanted to respond with I don't have one iota, but that would make it sound like I didn't know what it was going to happen in the new newscast today, and that's not
you know
true.
what they say about idle hands.
Devil's plaything. Okay, Hawaiian Airlines is now allowing loyalty members to exchange 14,000 frequent flyer miles for a pre-trip coronavirus test kit. mail-in test kit is run by Vault Health, a testing partner for the state of Hawaii. The test kit is available for travelers of all ages, including children. Members receive an email link to order the kit. The saliva sample is then self-collected with video supervisory help and express shipped to a lab. Results are available within 24 hours.
Hey, really quickly, just want to give a happy birthday shout out to Pastor Jim Thomas in Columbus. We got to interview him in March when he actually tested positive for COVID-19. He is healthy and celebrating his 53rd birthday today. So happy birthday to Pastor Thomas, and thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning.
Happy birthday, my man. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.